My name is Julie. This is a live stream. As I put in the title, we're doing bedtime stories tonight. Let me take this out. We just got home from a family barbecue with my family this time, and it was lovely. It was so wonderful. I had really missed being with them, and 6 of us kids were there. There's 8 of us, and 6 of us were there, and my mom, and it was really lovely. It was really great. So I had been missing them, and then I was talking to my sister, and she had said, well, check the family group me thing. Hi, Pamela. And I said, okay. Anyway, in the family group thing, my sister-in-law, she's married to my oldest brother, had posted, hey, we're having a barbecue, such and such time, da-da-da. Love to have everybody. And I'm like, it's like she read my mind. She read my mind. So anyhow, so we've had a lot of family time this weekend. A lot. Hi, Bonnie. A lot of family time. I'm tired. But it's a beautiful kind of tired. So I just now took some Tylenol and some turmeric. I've got a headache. I've got a headache. So much laughing. Oh, subscription only. Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, let me jump in and do it real quick. Sometimes I wait, sometimes I do it quick. But I want to just get it done this time. So then I don't have to think about it anymore. There we go. Thank you very much. So anyway, we laughed. God, we laughed so much. And my head was just like, I was to the point that I was dizzy, like lightheaded, dizzy, even nauseated from so much laughing, but especially so much laughing after a big meal. My brothers are amazing cooks. My mom and my sister, amazing bakers. I mean, they both can cook as well too, but they both brought baked goods. And then my brothers cooked all kinds of, oh man. Okay, all kinds of good food. And so all the laughing and the craziness after we had eaten these big meals. So anyway, headache, dizziness, lightheadedness, a little bit of nausea. But anyhow, so we're home. It was a long drive, but we're home. No, Bonnie, you didn't miss me at all. Not at all. I knew it was going to be a later one today. I had so much to do this morning, so much to do, but we got it done, and I'm glad about that. And then long drives, to and from my brother's place. Anyway, here we are. Is this really 20 days? Are you kidding me? Hi, Renee. Thanks for being here. 20 days. We got to do something to celebrate when we hit 30. We got to do something. I don't know what. Well, welcome home from work, Renee. I just got home from being at my brother's with my family. Had just a wonderful time. Absolutely wonderful. But I'm kind of waiting for this Tylenol to kick in. Too much laughing and loudness and craziness. But so much fun. Oh, such a good time. Such a good time. Anyway, yeah, it's been a busy day. A good weekend. But I'm wiped. You do all the family time with my husband's family yesterday, and then with my family today, and then all the stuff I had going on this morning. So tomorrow, my plan is to just be outside. Not all day. I'm not going to be able to. It'll get too hot. But I want to get up early again and work out in the front yard and finally dig up those freaking irises. You guys will learn more about that in a video that's coming out tomorrow. But yeah, it's going to happen. So anyway, story time. That's what I put in the title. That's what we're going to do. Some bedtime stories. Hello, Florida girl, Kathy. Kathy, Florida girl. I'm glad you can be here. So, where shall we start? I think I'll start with this. I was talking yesterday with some of the in-laws and talking about nieces, nephews, different things going on. And oh, hi, Phyllis. You saw Kitty? Oh, she's a nut. She is a nut. So anyway, so I was telling a story, well, in response to a story that my sister-in-law was telling about her niece, and like her boyfriend wanted to kiss her, stuff like that, whatever. And so that took us down the road of kissing stories. And so I was like, shared just a little bit of my first kiss story, and because it's hilarious, it's ridiculous. So there was this boy that I worked with at McDonald's, and look, I've told you that my family is loony. They are bunch of nutcases, so very dear and wonderful nutcases. But anyway, so there was this boy named Josh. I worked with him at McDonald's, and I just thought he was the most beautiful thing in the world. Kind of a dick, but he was so beautiful. But he was also kind of like a Charlie Chaplin kind of character, or maybe Laurel and Hardy. I don't know. With the reason being, he was like kind of klutzy, and he was much better looking than his smarts. Yeah. The good Lord did not give him smarts, and gave him looks. So, anyway, so I just thought he was just everything, though. Well, I turned 16. So let's see. So he had been working with me at McDonald's for a couple of years, and then he got fired. And part of the problem was that he had been supposed to clean out the grease or whatever, the oil from the French fry things. And I don't know how he did this, but somehow he had tipped the thing over, like this vat of frying oil, and got it on himself, but onto like equipment and all this stuff. And I don't know why he got fired for it. I think there was more to it than that, but that was just kind of the hubbub. And I never actually heard from him what the actual story was, just the kind of teenage, well, word around the water cooler, kind of a thing with fellow employees there at Walmart. Or not Walmart, I wasn't at Walmart yet. McDonald's. So anyhow, but this big disaster had happened, and like there was oil everywhere, and it like ruined stuff or whatever. That was the story. Okay. So anyhow, he got fired. And I was so sad. Oh no, blah, 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 blah. Well, so he ended up working across town at the Taco Bell. Only he would call it, we didn't say cringe back in the day, but this was that. So, but I didn't care because he was so cute and I was so infatuated, and so I didn't care. Even though I did think it sounded dumb, it didn't matter because, like I said, he was beautiful, so it made up for these other issues. So he would come through the drive-through at McDonald's to get McDonald's food and talk about how he worked at the Bell. Yeah, even now it's like secondhand embarrassment. It's just like, yeah, I'm working at the Bell. Or I think at one point I was like, are you going to try to get your job back to come back here? No, I'm working at the Bell. Is that Ma Bell? I don't know. Anyway, so he worked over at Taco Bell. But he would come in the drive-thru fairly often. And his older sister, still worked. She was a manager or something. I didn't really work with her. She worked a different shift. I was in high school, so I could only work certain shifts. But anyway, so yeah, his older sister still worked there. Well, anyway, after a few times of him coming through the drive-thru, at some point we ended up deciding to meet up. And I was over the moon. Like, over the moon. And this is so like, well, I knew my mom was not going to let me go hang out with him. Because when we were planning all this, I was almost 16, but not 16. And the rule in the Mormon church at the time, they've in the last like year or two removed this rule, which is bizarre to me, but the rule was you couldn't date till you were 16. And now I, of course, had snuck out to do things a million times, starting at like 13. But I wanted to like, I don't know, I really wanted to go on like a real date with him without having to be sneaky. But then once I started talking to my mom about it, she shut it right down. And so, of course, what are you going to do when your parent just shuts things right down? You're going to sneak. You're going to sneak. And I did. And so the only thing I could come up with was that my brother and I, the one that's my best friend my whole life, that's a year older than me, we were both going to be heading over to the high school to get our, what did they call them? They're your junior year inoculations, your vaccinations that you get right before your junior year of high school or during your junior year of high school. Something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, so we were going over to the high school to get these injections. Why were we doing it at the high school? I have no idea. Why weren't we doing it at the doctor's office? I don't know. Because when we did Olivia's, it was at the doctor's office. And then you like took the paper to the school, like to the school nurse, but not in this case. In this case, we went to get them at the high school. And so, so we were over there to get these vaccinations, and he met me there. And my brother knew all about it. And this is weird, right? Because this is the same brother that I've told you about that would like pull pew-pews and stuff like that on people, later boyfriends and stuff. And maybe this was educational for him. But he's also the same one that employed or engaged some local hoods. What is this, 1920? When we were growing up in Northern California to chase off my little boyfriend Calvin when I was 12. But anyhow, our like early to mid teenage years were a little bit different. And he was okay with me kind of hooking up with people. But I think it was like he assumed, pretty rightly, I think, that it wasn't going to go very far. And so, you know, kissing, making out, that kind of thing. And so I don't think he was really worried. You know what I mean? Now, he changed that opinion, like, as soon as I was 18. I don't know why, but he did. Well, anyhow, so I go with my brother over to the high school. And then we get our shots, and they were really painful ones that they, you know, do up here. God, what are those ones that... Is it... I don't think it's the MMR. I think it's the other one. What is that other one called? Shoot, I can't think of what the other one is. Kathy's watching Dennis Quaid. Shoot, what is that called? Hold on, just a sec. Not the MMR. There's a different one, whatever it is. Anyway, so we're getting those injections, which of course hurt, you know, but he came and met up with us at the high school, found us. He lived in a different town. He lived like a couple of towns over, and he had a truck. And I did not have a car yet. I got my car my senior year of high school that I bought myself. My dad co-signed for me, but yeah, that was my car. I was so proud of that. But anyway, so he meets up with us. Tetanus. Thank you, Bonnie. Tetanus, that one. Oh, hurt like a biscuit. But anyway, so he comes over in his truck, meets up with us, and then he and I go walk outside of the high school, there was like this like, hi Holly, thanks for being here. This sidewalk, really wide sidewalk behind the gym. And that's where we went. And we were sitting there and just, leaning against the brick wall, sitting on the ground, very teenager. It was like straight out of a movie, it looked like, And we're talking, la la la. And he wanted to kiss me. And I had not been kissed. I was like, oh my God, I don't know. This is not what I had in mind for my first kiss. And then plus I was so close to being 16 that, and I had seen this movie called 16 Candles and like other stuff. And I was like, there's this thing called like Sweet 16, which means you're 16 and haven't been kissed. And so I want to wait till then is what I'm thinking in my brain. And then the other thing that I was thinking and said to him was that wasn't romantic to me. Like being at my high school, sitting on the ground, leaning against the brick wall. Though now that I think about it and look back, that actually could have been kind of romantic, depending on how you looked at it. But there were people like coming and going because loads of other people were getting their tetanus shots and whatever. And then just people just busy. It was a high school. Well, so I was like, no. I absolutely wanted to. Of course I wanted to, but I wanted my situation. And so what we ended up doing was we planned on another day. And I don't remember how we worked it out. I think he might have picked me up after work at McDonald's. And of course I lied to my parents and said that I worked however much later and that a coworker was going to bring me home or some such like that. Like, how did I get to be an adult? Because this is just the beginning. Just like, I mean, it wasn't the beginning of beginning. That was going skating with, anyway, but that's a different story. But this was one of the first ones. And this was like the first one where I snuck out and got into a car with a guy. Just the beginning. Oh, just the beginning. And somehow here I am, 44 years old and still alive. So, oh, Holly, I'm sorry you have a toothache. I hope it gets feeling better. So we plan this other scheme, and he comes and picks me up. This is how I remember it. It might have been something slightly different, but I'm pretty sure that he picked me up from work, and then off we went. I had picked out a place that I had seen because when I would go to one of my girlfriend's house, we would go around this corner. And in fact, I've even like taken pictures and a little bit of video of this place to show you guys. I don't have it for you tonight, but anyway, at some point, maybe I'll even take you there. Maybe I will like bring you guys along and show you this place because it still exists. Basically the same as it did then. So I had this place all picked out in my head that I thought was so ideal for a first kiss. So we get in his truck and we drive 10 minutes to this place. And so what you would do is you would kind of turn, and then there was a kind of a pull off of the road, kind of a spot. And later I realized that this romantic place that I had picked out was a drainage ditch. Now, you could also call it a summer canal. It was a drainage ditch because there was lots of farmland. I don't think there's a whole lot of farmland anymore. It's all, covered in houses and condos, but it was a drainage ditch for like all these farms and whatever. And we have lots of mountains, and so runoff from the mountains and whatever. Anyway, and so in like spring, there's a nice flow there. You got a little river. But by the time we got there, it was in summer, but all along this portion of the drainage ditch, or summer canal, that it was dry, but there were trees, shady trees and shrubs and bushes all along this section of it. And that's what I thought was so beautiful. I wish I would have known about a couple other places that were pretty close, fairly close, that were just as beautiful, if not more, but were also not drainage ditches. But it's fine. It's fine. We went to my summer canal. Yeah, it was definitely not even a lover's lane. There were like houses like right close to it, not up on the mountains, just literally a pull off on a road into a bit of dirt and farms and a drainage ditch, but with lots of lovely shady trees and shrubs and plants. And so we pull up to it and he's like, where are we going? Because I had made this whole spiel to him about I wanted something more romantic and I, this dream and whatever. And he's like, okay, where are we going? Obviously, it did not impress him the way it impressed me. He was not getting the vibe from it that I did. I swear I charged this fan. I charged this stupid fan. Ugh. We'll have to plug her in again. Hold on. Just a sec. So anyway, I'm getting hot flashes. Do you see it? Oof. Oof. Horrible hot flashes. It's because I ran out of my my supplements. Well, I have more. I just ran out of them in my bathroom. So anyway, hold on. So I need to restock them in the bathroom so that we slow these hot flashes down, because they are killing me. There we go. Okay, that's better. So anyhow, he's confused. He's like, I don't know, what idea does this girl have? And I was like, over there in those trees. And he like looks over and he was not impressed. All right. He was not impressed with my summer canal of shady trees and shrubs. But he didn't care. He was a boy. There were hormones. He's like, whatever this girl wants, let's go. Just the. So we hop out of the truck and we walk to the edge of it. And I had never actually gone and sussed the area out. I didn't have my own car. So if I was going to get over there, it was going to be with my brother or with friends or whatever. And I didn't want to have to explain to anyone what I had planned, at least not all this detail. And so we get over there and it is so steep. Like, this was not some little street. No, this was like a full-on canal. So he kind of slides down just on his feet, holding on to some stuff, kind of slides down, and then helps me slide down. And I'm thinking, like, where's the music? I didn't say it out loud. I'm thinking it in my head because, of course, in my head, I have like a soundtrack to my life, and I've watched way too many movies, and I'm expecting, like, I don't know. You picture these things and you build them up in your mind, and then reality is a drainage ditch. So that should be on his shirt. Reality is a drainage ditch. Anyway, so he actually was a pretty good sport about it. And like takes my hand and walks me down a little ways into under the cover of the trees into some privacy, and I don't know, says some nice things. I don't remember what he said, but something nice, I don't know. And then we're under all these trees, and then I don't know what to do. I had never kissed anyone. I was sweet 16. I was barely 16, but I was 16 at this point. And so how did it was like, he said something like, all right, I'm going to kiss you. And I'm like, okay. It was so not romantic at all. I mean, the trees were beautiful. I will, like, I'm giving myself some credit on that. Because for a drainage ditch, this thing was cool, okay? Because we had all the trees, like this lovely canopy of shade, and then shrubs on the side, and you were like 25 feet down. Okay, not 20, like 5 or 6 feet down in this ditch, so no one could see you. So it was pretty. But anyhow, so he says, I'm gonna kiss you. And I said, okay. And he said, all right, so don't do anything. And I'm like, what do you mean? Don't do anything. He's like, just don't move. Let me kiss you and you just kind of follow. Because he knew it was my first, like, obviously, this whole thing. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so this guy, he's a teacher. Like, this guy's teaching people, how to do this. It all sounded so, I don't know. That boy was not a teacher. There ain't no one he should be teaching. Like I said, looks don't make up for everything. Being beautiful does not mean you're good at everything you do. So he says, just hold still. Don't do anything. I'm going to kiss you. And so he does. He moves in and he kisses me. And I had expected like a sweet, gentle, romantic, just a little kiss to start it. Oh, no. No. That's not what he had in mind, apparently. And I'm telling you, I endured this slobbery mess. Oh my God. And I'm thinking, this is supposed to be like really cool, really special. And it's this guy that I've had a crush on for over a year. And this is actually happening. And I absolutely felt like he was like so many levels above me. I'm like, oh, I'm dating up. Like, I'm so, it was awful. It was awful. Okay. It was awful. And like, there were like, gratefully, some little breaks. And, oh, I'm just now remembering, he wore like a button-up collared shirt, like short sleeve button-up collared shirt. So he had like dressed up and stuff, which I thought was nice. That's some effort. That's kind of nice, right? I mean, I think that's kind of nice. I must have changed because I know I wasn't in my McDonald's clothes. So I must have changed before he picked me up. But anyway, so he's kissing me. And like I said, I'm thinking it's going to be this just, gentle, sweet, we're going to work our way into this. It's my first kiss. But no, he was all, there's tongues everywhere and I'm like practically choking on saliva. And so luckily there were like little breaks here and there. And I am not kidding. I would like wipe my mouth like on his nice button down or button up or what have you, collared shirt. Button up, that's what it is. Because it was so much slobber. That was my first kiss. So the story continues. So he's the one that, so keep in mind, my mom knows not where I am. Well, she ends up finding out. And I, to this day, don't know who ratted me out. A friendly dog. Yeah, Bonnie, is something, perhaps. I was 16, Kathy. I had just turned 16. It said almost happened when I was 15 to almost 16. And I had said, no, wait, I want to be sweet 16. It was the thing. So anyhow, so someone ratted me out. And I'm not sure. Was it my brother? It very well could have been. Look, he is my best friend to this day, and I love him dearly, and we are like the same soul split into two different bodies. But even still, I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put it past him. So, somebody ratted me out. But it also could have been friends of mine. It could have been my little sister. I don't know. But anyway, probably not my little sister. She was like 6. But she also did not appreciate that I climbed in and out of our bedroom window all the time, or would wake her up in the middle of the night banging on the window to have her come open the door for me. Anyways, so my mom finds out. And of course, I'm grounded. Now, I didn't have a cell phone. None of us did. I did get one in high school because my brother had gotten one, and then he gave me, like, he had gotten one, then he ended up getting another one, so he gave me his old one and put me on his phone plan. And I was the first person that I know of in my high school to have a cell phone, and that wasn't until my senior year. So anyway, you would have to use, obviously, the landline, you know, the phone on the wall. And I don't know, that's actually another possibility, that my mom might have listened in on a phone call. That's also possible. But the plan was that Josh was going to come over to my house while my mom was at work. And I don't remember if we were going to go somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. But he shows up, and I go answer the door, the front door. And there he is, and he looks so nice, and he's so beautiful, and I'm like ready to go. I don't know where we were going to go. Yeah, even after that horrible kiss, like, I still was so incredibly infatuated. Hi, Trisha from Trinidad. Thanks for being here. And so I'm saying hi to him. He like hugged me, whatever. And then I hear this cacophony of noise, and my mom comes out of nowhere. Where did she spawn from? Spawns into the game out of parts unknown, like out of the shadows. Here's my mom. And she had a rake. Or was it a shovel? It was either a shovel or a rake. It was a garden implement. Full-size garden implement. Is it any wonder my brothers ended up with like guns and knives when I would have guys around? Like I told you, family of lunatics. James married into this. So, so anyhow, she comes like charging to the door with said garden implement and telling him to get off the property and da-da-da. I don't know what she thought was going on. I think she was basing it, to be fair, on her own teenage experiences and choices, because she was like threatening she was going to call the cops. I'm underage. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what do you think we're doing? Projection. But anyway, so she's chasing him. And I'm yelling, and I'm like, Mom, that's not even what's going on. What are you talking about? And she's chasing after him with the garden rake, chasing him back towards his car, his truck. And I'm like, no, Josh! Ah! This was like nightmare fuel, or living in an actual nightmare. It was so awful. It was so awful. I can laugh about it now, but the teenage me that's still buried in this psyche somewhere, still pretty upset. So she's chasing him, threatening all this stuff. You come on my property again, I'm calling the cops. You this, you that, loony stuff. I'm chasing after him. And I'm like, Josh, I'm sorry. Ah! And he's telling my mom off because she's chasing after him with a rake. Might have been a shovel. But anyhow, wood and steel garden implement. And my mom, while threatening him, is yelling at me to get back in the house, and it was a mess. It was such a mess. Is it any wonder he didn't want to see me anymore after that? I was heartbroken. Heartbroken. And I think he was terrified, rightfully so. He had a grown woman chasing him. Now, he was 18, I think. I think he was like 18, barely. But we weren't doing anything that would cause any kind of, legal quandaries. So, yeah, it was silly. And I knew better than there was no way I was doing that before I was married, even. At least before the first marriage. So, anyhow, that was my first kiss. And the tragedy, and the trauma, and the madness. How did she know? She was not supposed to be home for a couple of hours from work. So then we're back to the potential and likelihood that someone was ratting me out again. Who would it have been, I wonder? I still don't know to this day. Well, not too long after this, the saga continues. I was so mad. I was so, so angry. Here's the thing. I worked. I paid for a lot of things for myself. Paid for my braces. Paid for my car. Paid for my gas. If I wanted school clothes, I bought them. If I wanted a yearbook or school portraits or whatever, I paid for it. I was working. Now, I'm not saying my parents didn't provide for us, but they also had 8 kids. So I got really good grades. Really good grades. Even though I was skipping school all the time, which was such a waste of whatever I had up here. And it's unfortunate, and I regret it to this day, but I did still get really good grades and got a scholarship. I was a good kid. I was a really good kid. But after that, I was like, oh, that's it. And I had already been heading down the path of being a teenager, and there's defiance, and there's you want to assert your independence and spread your wings and all that kind of thing, which is natural. That's a teenager thing. But mine had been pretty metered, it wasn't like crazy. Yes, I was sneaking out and doing silly things here and there, but nothing like crazy. Definitely not like the majority of my friends who were, getting high all the time. They were drinking, they were doing all kinds of God knows what. And so I was not doing all those things. And so I was pretty proud of myself and thinking I'm a pretty damn good kid. And so it was an affront. I will be honest, it was an affront to like who I was and who I thought I was and who I thought they should think I was. Hi, Crystal. Oh, thank you for swinging by. I'm actually doing an much earlier live stream on here tomorrow. I don't know what time yet, but I will give you a warning. Anyway, thanks for the flyby. So after that, like I got angry. Oh, I was so angry. And went through the whole teenage angst and fall apart and like blasted some music and really I was kind of raging, and so and we had Rage Against the Machine at the time, what I'm saying, and so I was blasting some tunes and just thinking angry thoughts and defiant thoughts, and it kind of snowballed from there, which was a really important parenting lesson for me that I've looked back on many times and thought about that this was a turning point for me. It was. That now I don't know what my mom was told or what she assumed or if it was just projection and all of that. But I knew I was not doing anything like that. Is it possible that, she just wanted to keep me safe and didn't know him and thought perhaps he would take advantage of me? That's absolutely a possibility and very likely. Okay. And as an adult now with children and all of that and life experience, I can see that is absolutely a possibility, that it was just like, I'm trying to keep her safe. I don't know what he might do, whatever, Well, the reality is he was a good kid. He wasn't a great kid, but he was a good kid. He was kind of dopey, but he was a good kid, but my mom didn't know him from anybody. So I will give a little bit of grace there, but also I still think there was some projection. But anyway, so anyhow, but it was a big turning point for me because I felt betrayed, horribly embarrassed, mortified. It's the kind that you don't think you'll ever recover from, that you just want to bury your head in the sand, in the ground, hide in a hole somewhere, die in a cave, because you just don't think you could ever recover from that. Like, oh, Holly. Oh, Holly. So, so anyway, it's tricky when you want to tell your own stories and they absolutely relate to other people's stories, but you don't really want to share all of their stories. But anyway, yeah. So that was a turning point where, yeah, I still managed to get good grades, but I was not putting any effort into it. I didn't care at that point. I had snuck out a little here and there, and my sister, like I said, and not much to that point. Actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't much before that. But after that, it just was a total, like, it flipped this kind of switch in me that was just pure rebellion. Just rebellion. Now, luckily, I still had enough fear of certain consequences and what I don't know, and enough sense to not like start drugging out and drinking and anything too crazy, but it absolutely changed, and I really became a monster after that. I would fight and scream and yell, and they would scream and yell, and it was not good. And I was not home unless I had to be there. And I didn't care. It used to be I would, for the most part, tell them where I was, who I was going to be with, that kind of thing. Not after that. I was like, nope, I'm out. And sneaking and lying and just lots of rotten stuff. Ay, gatita preciosa kitty. Hi, honey. Oh, you look so sleepy. Oh, pobre de mi maldita. So anyway, yeah, I went nuts after that. I was a mess. And about 4 or 5 months later, we got in our biggest fight ever. Like it was, and I don't even know what it was about. I don't know. I don't remember. Because even though I was totally rebellious at this point, I was still working. I went to work, did great in school, still did chores, but the fighting was awful. And yeah, I was sneaking out all the time. All the time. And it so happened that my mom had started working a graveyard shift. And so, especially when she was going to be working a graveyard shift, I was going to be out too. Like, I had several friends that had cars. I didn't have a car yet at that time, but several friends had cars, and I was like, come get me, come get me. And so I would sneak out. And then the nights that she didn't work graveyards, that's when I would climb in and out of my window. Yeah. And doing all kinds of dumb stuff and going around with all kinds of wacky kids and, stuff like that. So, yeah, it was about 6 months, and it just like kept escalating and escalating and just getting worse, and until one day it all just blew up. And I believe it was because I had been out with my friend that we'll call T, and her and I worked at McDonald's together, and we had done something, I don't know, nothing crazy, but by this time I was in Utah. For high school, I was in Utah, and so T and I, there was something, I don't know, I think it was that, I'm almost certain that it was that we had gotten off work at like the same time, and instead of coming home, I had gone off with her somewhere. We had gone probably cruising Maine and picking up guys and whatever. Excuse me, because like I've said, that was like the thing. That was the thing we did. So anyhow, so I'm almost certain that was what had happened. And so we end up getting in this ridiculous, crazy fight. Either when I finally got home, or else it was the next day. It must have been when I got home. And the thing was, I wasn't out late. Like, I wasn't out late, but we had got enough work and I hadn't just come home. And now, of course, as a mom, I tell my kids all the time, I just need to know where you are. I just need to know where you are, so that if whatever thing, then I know where to find you. But I also have lots of other things in place that, you learn from what your parents do and from who you were, and then you try to do something better. Take the stuff that you thought was good and let go of the things that didn't work so much, and try to learn from it all and improve it. And so my thought has always been to make sure that they are comfortable enough to know that it's always better to just tell mom first, that mom will say yes to a lot of things, as long as you don't lie, as long as you don't make me a fool, and as long as I don't find out on my own without you telling me. You know what I mean? And so they get a lot of leeway, and they've ended up being really trustworthy kids and good kids. And have we had our situations? Of course we have. They're teenagers. That's going to happen. Again, they're asserting their independence, trying to spread their wings. But there was no trust. My mom did not trust me at all. And so Tiffany brings me home. Oh, I wasn't going to say her full name. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You guys don't know her. Anyway, she drops me off, and I go in the house, or I start heading in through the garage. And then my mom comes out the garage door and starts yelling at me. Where have I been? What have I been doing? And the ideas that she had in her head about what I was doing was so far off from what I was doing. I was out being a dumb teenager. Absolutely I was. But the things that she thought I was doing, I was like, where is this coming from? What have you been watching? Or what did you do as a teenager? Because that's not what I'm doing. I'm out being stupid, but it's stupid shit like, for instance, sometimes we would stay at McDonald's well after closing time, and we would get could this stuff have gotten us hurt? Yes, it could, but it's not what she thought it was. We would get like the food trays and ride them down the slides in the play place. I mean, just stupid stuff, and would we sometimes end up at like bonfires where a lot of people were getting high and that kind of thing? Yeah, but I wasn't getting into all that. Like, I don't know. So anyway, it's an interesting, it's like I said, I can understand a lot more now as a mom, a lot more. But there are some parts that no, I still don't understand because I don't know where some of it was coming from. Like, I really don't. So anyhow, she's yelling at me, calling me horrible names, and accusing me of horrible things, and it was not good. Well, I wasn't going to take that because, one, I was an angsty teen and trying to assert my wings and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I start yelling back. But it was also because it wasn't true. Was I being a monster in a lot of ways? Yeah, I was a brat. I was an absolute brat. Just a total and complete brat. But I was not out slutting it out, okay? So I didn't like being accused of that. I was not out doing drugs and drinking and all of that. I didn't like being accused of that either. Was there sometimes, of course, secondhand exposure? Yes, of course there was. But anyhow, so I start yelling back, and it just goes and just, just escalates and escalates and escalates and gets crazy. And, me too, Florida girl, because that's when I got married. Yeah. You don't do any of that stuff till you get married when you're a Mormon. Barely slid under the thing, but I did. I made it. Technically, on a technicality, but I did. I made it. Well, anyhow, the louder she got, the louder I got. And you guys know I'm loud. I'm so loud. And I haven't met anyone yet, at least not female, that is louder than me. Just one of those things. It just is. It just is what it is. And it must have triggered something in her. She couldn't take it anymore, didn't want to take it anymore. I don't know, wherever she was. And she slapped me right across the face. And we didn't do that in our family. That was not a thing. Like, we got spanked when we were kids, when we were little, but corporal punishment was not a thing in my teenage years. And so I was just like, what the fuck? What just happened? And so I turned around and I left. I just started walking. And I ended up, and she was yelling at me to come back home and where are you going and da da da. But I just started walking. And so, yeah, I got the belt when I was little, Kathy, from my parents. Yeah, when I was little. The belt, the chancla, that's like a sandal, hands, whatever. But anyhow, I make a phone call. I think it was at a payphone. It was back in the day, guys, back in the day. And so called Tiffany and said, come get me. And she said, I'm on my way. So she pulls up in her truck and off we go. And I stayed the night at her house. And her mom was so sweet to me. She was so sweet to me. Made me comfortable, let me talk about whatever it was that I wanted to talk about with all of it. And, let me just talk it out. Kind of did the cool mom kind of a thing. Like, if you've ever seen, God, what is it called? They have the burn book. What the hell is that called? The girls wear pink. shit. I can't remember. It's too late. I'm too tired. But anyway, so she was being the cool mom. Let me talk it all out. I think we even ordered pizza. I think our mom ordered pizza because I was so like upset and accosted and all of it. And so the plan was I was just going to stay with them. They were going to go with me to go back to my house. Imagine how this would have played out. But they were going to go with me back to my house to pack some things so that I could just stay there. And this happened with lots of kids that I knew, friends and acquaintances that would go and like live at other friends' houses during our high school years. It just happened a lot. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. That's what I'm going to do. I've got a job. So I've got my own money, like just whatever. That's what I'm going to do. Well, I go to school the next day. I get ready at Tiffany's house. She lends me some clothes so that I don't go to school wearing the same clothes. And at school, my brother, the same brother that is my bestest friend and just barely older than me, he finds me during school. And he's like, "You're in trouble." And I'm like, yeah. Now, I just want to acknowledge, I'm not going to share everybody's business of all their business, but I'm going to share this. The stuff that I was getting accused of, other siblings were actually doing. Okay? And not getting in any trouble at all. At all. Now, is part of that like cultural thing and like boys will be boys and all that bullshit. Boys will be boys, but girls, guaranteed. But also, they just didn't know everything else that was going on. And I was not a snitch. So anyhow, so my brother's like, yeah, you're in trouble. And I'm like, well, I'm not going home. I'm going to stay at Tiffany's now. And he's like, no, you're not going to be able to. And I'm like, why not? And he said, Mom was talking to Uncle so-and-so, one of her brothers that I cannot stand, and was like, he's setting it up for you to ship up to a military school in Washington State. And I'm like, the hell that's happening? No, I'm not going anywhere. And it's a tricky thing. So like, hi Alyssa, I'm so glad you're here. So I am not 100% sure of what all the laws are at this point or what they would have been at that point. It was like 1998-ish. But so I don't know how hard it would have been to have been emancipated or what the legal process would have been to get out of getting shipped to this military school. All I knew was I was not going to go live anywhere near that uncle. I was not going to some military school. Anyway, so what did I have to do? I had to go home. And I did. And I gave the fakest apology you have ever heard. Because I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it at all. I was not sorry about anything. I was hurt. I was so hurt and offended and angry and betrayed and, a lot of other things. Again, knowing that other siblings were doing the things I was accused of doing that I wasn't actually doing. So there was all of that, right? So I give the fakest apology and I'm home. And I minded my P's and Q's. to the extent that was absolutely necessary. And the rest of the time, it was the same old shit. It was. I was climbing in and out the windows, sneaking around, finally ended up getting my own car. Hallelujah. My daddy, rest in peace, co-signed for me, and I did. I got my own car, had a lot more freedom. And then I had ended up working at a grocery store and then eventually at Walmart, and then still living at my parents' house, and I was in college. I had started out with just the generals, getting some of that done, and got to a point where I could not live in the same house. I know there was love, because of course there was love between us, between me and my folks, between them and me, but I know that we did not like each other. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Not at all. Okay. And so I ended up figuring out, oh yeah, Bonnie, people can make you say sorry. They cannot make you mean it. And that's 100% true. These are so many lessons I've learned over the years about things I wanted to do differently, whatever. The way I see it, though, I mean, people, not everybody, but a lot of us, we do the best we can with what we have and with the way we were raised. You know what I mean? And so I know a lot of that was stuff that came down from their parents, unfortunately. So anyway, when I was 19, I was like, I'm out. I knew I needed to get out. I could not stay in their house. It was not good. It was not good at all. And it was a huge house, and there was not room. There just was not room for the anger and the conflict, and just, it was bad. It was really bad. And so I was like, no, I got to get out of here. I got to get out. So I started exploring, what are my options? What can I even do? I'm 19. I work at Walmart. I don't have enough money to really do anything. So I end up, I don't know how I came upon it. I have no idea. Let me check my battery. Oh, we've got 32%. We're all right. I have no idea how I came upon this, especially where internet was so new then and was not what it is now. But anyway, I ended up coming across being a nanny, a live-in nanny, where they pay for your housing, they pay for your food. Some of them pay for all kinds of other things. You don't have to buy a car. They pay for the car. They pay for the car insurance, the gas, etc. And so I applied with this agency called Tri-State Nannies, and went through the whole process. Had to get like a background check, got my fingerprints done. That was an interesting experience. And had to get like different teachers and professors and religious leaders and whatever to write letters for me. Just references, or attesting to, who I was. People that I had babysat for, like all this kind of stuff. I do all of that, and it's a process over a couple of months. And at the time, I'm still working. I'm kind of keeping my head down as far as at home, just, just trying to stay out of the line of fire, and let's just avoid each other. Because for reals, I know you guys hear me talk about my daddy all the time and how much I love him and I miss him and whatever. And and how my mom and I have come to a place where we have a relationship that works for us. It's not at all what I would have dreamed to have had, but it is a relationship that works. Well, that took a long time for all that. Okay. So anyway, I finally get it all figured out. I put in my 2 weeks at Walmart. I sold my car. to my older brother, like a different brother, and to him and his new wife. And I got the hell out of there. So they flew me out. My parents took me to the airport, or at least my mom. And even though things had been, so incredibly tense and so incredibly difficult, like I said, even though we didn't like each other at the time, we did love each other. And she sent her teddy bear with me. And I tell you, I cried the entire flight holding that stupid teddy bear. And I would go to sleep at night, sometimes crying myself to sleep, hugging that stupid teddy bear. I loved that bear so much. She let me, Jesus. Hey, relationships can be tricky, okay? When you have passionate people, it can, and not good communication. In fact, horrible communication. And don't get family therapy. So when I got divorced from my first marriage, she let me have the bear again until I was healed enough to give it back. Yeah. Anyway, relationships, they're difficult. And like I said, a lot is stuff that has come down through generations, generational trauma, and stuff that gets perpetuated. And even if you try to fight it and do better than, what you had, stuff still comes through. It does. So anyhow, so I left, and I was gone like a year and a half. And when I came back, it was so different. There were some things that still annoyed me, still bothered me, because I'm like a grown-ass adult at this time. I'm an adult, I've been out in the big, bad world. In the wilds of Connecticut. And I still have to, follow a curfew? What? Olivia has talked to me about stuff like this. Like, how do I have a curfew? I'm a grown-up. Not doesn't say it like that. But, and I'm like, yeah, but you still live in my house. It is what it is. I'm very generous with my curfews. And if you just stay in touch with me, and you still are talking and hanging out and doing this and doing that, yeah, you can stay out later. Just stay in touch. Let me know. So that I know you're not dead in the street somewhere and don't have to go look for you, But that wasn't the circumstance with, the curfew at home, when I had moved home. And I wish it had been. I do. But that's also why I adjusted it with my own kids, And so I absolutely understood, with having kids and as, they're growing older, that, curfews, they're absolutely a thing. And I don't care if you're an adult. I don't want someone coming into my house at all hours of the night, and I don't even know who it is because I think my kids are all asleep. That can get dangerous, okay? So, and then not only that, obviously, I want to know my kids are okay. So, anyhow, so there were still, some conflicts. There was still a little bit of, whatever, and 2 women, 1 kitchen. It's just tricky. It's just tricky. But we got along so much better. And especially my daddy and I. We had not, I had gotten along with my mom till about age 15. And that was when it started kind of not getting good. And then of course at 16, it just went apeshit. Well, my dad, we have very similar personalities, very similar. And so from 10, 11, we started fighting, my dad and I. And sometimes my mom would try and step in, and other times she just was like, I can't deal with this. And that's unfortunate. I wish she would have stepped in sometimes, but Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she just couldn't. I don't know. But oh, we would fight like cats and dogs. It was terrible. It was terrible. But once I had gone through these rites of passage by going and, living on the other side of the country. And then, of course, 9/11 happened 2 weeks before I was coming home. And that changed everything. I mean, that changed everything. In like the world, but also in our relationships, and changed a lot of things and was huge for my parents. Yeah, I was a brat and a bit of a monster, but I was their bratty monster, And so it was tricky. It was tricky. But anyhow, I came home. Still difficult to live in the same house for some reasons, but we got along so much better. And then my dad and I don't know, it completely changed between my daddy and I. And we could sit and talk for hours and joke and laugh and watch movies and tell stories and, stuff like that. So, and then of course, I got married the first time at 21. Now, granted, at that point, my parents were having their own issues. And so even though I was getting along so much better with them individually, their own issues that they had together, I did not want to be around. That was, it was different and it was scary and it was upsetting and it was something I just didn't want to be around. And I know that getting married the first time, I was 21, almost 22. I was almost 22, but that absolutely was, at least in some ways, like some escapism, just wanting to get out. And no wonder that marriage didn't last, because it was absolutely not for the right reasons. It was a rebound relationship and I was dealing with, things at home and et cetera, et cetera. So all of that, bedtime story. And my first kiss sucked. Where did all this come up from? Well, because we were with the in-laws yesterday and talking with my sister-in-law about one of her kids and how, like, her daughter's boyfriend wanted to kiss her or whatever. And anyhow, la 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 la, which got me talking about my first kiss and what a slimy situation that was, but with such a beautiful boy. Oh, he was so beautiful. Which then, of course, leads to these other things and these other things and these other things, and ends up being a really good, like, therapy session for me. So thank you for that. Oh, Kathy, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, Bonnie, isn't that interesting how that turns out? You hated your aunt growing up, but she was the one you turned to when you needed help with your own kids. It's so strange. These relationships, they're so complicated. It's amazing to me. We've evolved so much as a species. But with that, like, we've got stuff out in space and da-da-da-da-da, and yet we still struggle with interpersonal relationships. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. I don't know. Parent-child relationships, difficult. Very difficult. Generational trauma, very difficult to break cycles. Very difficult. Cultural traditions and indoctrinations and, that kind of thing. All of those play a part as well. Lack of therapy. Jeez. It all plays a part. I think if we could make a lot of money by having these family conversations. Now, the therapists absolutely can make a lot of money, but that doesn't behoove the actual family and kids and parents and whatever to go pay for therapy. And that's if they even have access and the funds to pay for therapy. But if we, as parents, children, families, could make money, be incentivized with money, with reward, to participate in therapy, I think our interpersonal relationships and all the trials and tribulations that come with them or because of them would vastly improve. But you got to have the right motivation. And yeah, doing the emotional work is just still so scary to a lot of people. Doing the counseling and talking things out and admitting faults and misconceptions and misunderstandings and just talking those out. Still, we got a long ways to go. As a species. We really do. I don't know how it is, country by country. I really don't. I would imagine that some are doing better than others in that department. For sure. But on a case-by-case basis, I would say that in general, humanity as a whole, we got a long ways to go when it comes to healthy interpersonal relationships, healthy boundaries, but especially when it comes to people that we share blood with or that we were raised with or by. I don't know why. I don't know. And I've wondered sometimes, like evolutionarily speaking, why? Why didn't that get worked into the equation? Like, okay, we're going to stand on 2 feet now. How about we're going to have all these family kind of groupings and working together for the good of the whole, the good of the community, Why didn't we, in all that process of adapting and developing and evolving, why did we not evolve more emotionally and why did we not progress in that department? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. And I don't know how, other than my idea of incentivizing people, I don't know how to get that to happen. I know that there has been progress, slowly but surely. We are seeing certain things kind of fall off. Although some people are trying to bring a lot of that shit back. Ideally, hopefully, we continue forward. Trying to shed some of those leftover things. And move forward and be able to build relationships and boundaries that benefit all involved and that aren't just built on fear, respect, fear of hell, fear, that kind of thing. but that are built on love and trust and compassion and, you know, the good of the whole family, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to fix it other than lots of therapy, individual and family and couples and whatever therapy, where you, oh, hi Jamie, I'm so glad you're here, where you learn about yourself, learn about each other, learn how to communicate, all those kinds of things. I mean, obviously that's the path forward. That's the path forward, is engaging in, and I mean really engaging. It's one thing to just go to therapy, but unless you're like really engaged and you're making sure you are part of the process, and actively taking what you learn there and implementing it and working through the steps and all that kind of thing, then there's no point. But if people are actively doing that together, I think we'll make a lot of progress. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't go to therapy until it's either court mandated or absolute disasters have happened. I didn't start into therapy until I was in a treatment facility. Like when I was in the lockdown treatment facility while I was pregnant with Olivia. That's when I finally got therapy. Should have had it so long before that. But that wasn't a thing my family did. Even if they did believe in it, I don't think we would have had the money to do it. So it didn't happen. There was no therapy. Yeah. Yeah. Tricky stuff. Tricky. But I fully believe, I really truly believe that it would make a difference for a lot of people and just for society in general. You know, we're such a like selfish, impatient people anymore. Like we are the main character of everything in our own stories, you know what I mean? And it's all about me, my, no. And that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And we lose so much because of that. Again, I don't know how to force people to fix it. My best idea is therapy and, you know, learning communication skills and stuff like that, and better mental health care, and less guns, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, we are almost out of battery. Yeah, we're almost out of battery. And I need to go watch an episode or two of the Apothecary Diaries with the girls, because that's our show that we watch. We're about to start season 2. I'm so excited. It's going to be good. Kathy, that's all right, because I got to go to bed too. After Apothecary Diaries. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for letting me story time and kind of process all of this and connect all the dots of things leading to things to whatever. It is really, really interesting how once you start saying this stuff out loud, start talking it out, you can start kind of connecting dots and realizing these progressions and things like that, which can also happen very effectively in therapy. Okay, anyway, have a good night. I will see you guys tomorrow. I do not know yet what time, but it will, of course, be a very pink Menopause Monday. So stay tuned. I will let you know. All right. Yeah, Jamie, absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys are a wonderful sounding board, and I appreciate you so much. All right. Have a good night. I will see you all tomorrow.